Alright, so pardon the high contrast, but it's getting on to about 6 o'clock, and at 7 I'll be allowed to light a fire. So here's what's going to happen in the 1 hour between now and then. I've put some VPW 30 growing medium, just a bit of it, tampened down by water on top of my seaweed with my kind of bad clay soil. Now the idea here was to make a layer that would hold just enough water that it would be kind of like a tarp, permeable, and it would keep the water evaporating from below in. So that's achieved now. And what I'm going to do next is I am going to turn this sprinkler on for just a bit, maybe half an hour or less, to get all of this surface wet. And the reason I want it wet is because the seaweed may burn a bit, the logs under may char. That's fine, but I don't really need to encourage that because these are my rotting logs. My biochar logs are going up top, so I want this layer fairly wet. It'll also help for fire control. Now the rule in Nova Scotia is, at this time of year, restricted burn means after 7 p.m. when there's less chance of a grass fire because of night dew, you're allowed to do a 2 by 3 meter fire without a permit. Now as you can see here, my space is more like about 3 meters by 4. So what I've got is I've divided up my wood, and I have over here some sticks that are a meter and a half, and some actual brush that I kick off my quince tree, and some spare big logs. What I have over there is some brush that's about between half a meter and a half. And what I have on either side here, let me get out of the shadow of the shot. What I have here is sticks that are, let's show it more, approximately, a meter and a half to about 3.5 meters. And then on the other end I have exactly the same kind of stack, and on this side I've got stuff that's more like 4 to 6 meters. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stack the kindling at one end and make a different kindling stack at the other end, separate from each other. And I'm going to light one end on fire with this on top of it laid this way, and this stuff laid halfway across the middle to burn in half. And then when I light the kindling on the other side, I'm going to have I'm going to have a second 2 by 3 meter fire basically over there. So the fire will kind of migrate from here to there, and the entire length of it will be charred. Now remember, the objective here is to get the wood partly burnt. So at some point on this end, I'm going to spray it with water to dampen it down and make sure that it goes out before this stuff gets down to ash. It's petrified, so it'll burn fairly quick. I may end up doing that fairly quickly. If it gets too fast, then I'll throw some of those larger logs I have on. But this amount, probably stacked up with air, it'll probably be close to a meter tall. And, my 2 separate fire spots together will add up to be about maybe 5 meters by about 2 wide. And so that's essentially going to be about 10 square meters of biochar from an amount of wood that, I don't know, this would be probably equivalent to a cord with a lot of air in it of brush. So all this came from the woods. It's all softwood. There might be 1 or 2 stray pieces of hardwood here. But essentially it will be pretty acidic when it burns, and that's fine because I've got clamshell to bust up, calcium carbonate. I'm going to run the car over that, put it in a bag and run the car over it. And this VPW 30 has got quite a bit of calcium in it. Anyway, so once the biochar is on and the spraying is done, I don't know what kind of good light I'm going to have at 7 when I get to light the fire, but I'll try to capture it to some degree so that you can see what happens. And then in the morning we'll see what the aftermath looks like, and I shouldn't have to throw too much soil on top. I'm going to try to put it out with water so that there's something to look at in the morning. But there we go. This is another day's work. This is the biochar and VPW layer. Now this growing medium I only put down below the biochar so that deep roots can get to it, and to make that thick kind of mat with the clay. I want everything in that layer so that if roots get to it, they're very happy. If they get below it to the rotting wood, they might be less happy because that rotting wood will have a lot of air spaces in it and won't be good for them. So I want this whole thing to sort of start to collapse over time. And to do that, I need the heat of the summer to really help rot the wood. So that's why I want this kind of impermeable layer on the top. Now you can use fabrics, you can use organic ground sheet fabrics that deteriorate and things like that. I'm trying to do it all without any of that kind of stuff. My sod pieces I'm going to use around the edges because I don't have enough of them. They're just going to help seal it in. So by and large, my lasagna is going to be composed of Kikteron biochar and then this cardboard on top, and then, you know, the usual kinds of layering, the VPW, and maybe some more seaweed mulch. Well, actually definitely more seaweed mulch. And so I'll make like multiple layers the roots can kick around. Now there's only about this much soil here, about 3 wheelbarrow loads, and that's good soil, and I want to mix that up with the VPW 30 to make a mix that has everything in it. And I'll also throw in possibly some hen manure, which is good stuff to mix in evenly. There's a lot of phosphorus and so on. So I'm spending my next hour prepping this fire and wetting this down and putting my tools away from the woods. And I'll hopefully next be able to show you this burning, and then in the morning the results. So just so you get a sense of how this was done, at either end of the hugel I've laid the short 1.5 to about 3.5 meter sticks. I've taken the very long ones and laid them over there because they're the ones that get burned in half and then thrown on the other side. And I've got my small kindling sticks over here. I'll have to go get a few more of those, I think. And I've got some brush here and some extra large pieces. In case things burn down too far, I'll throw those on so that I can get more, and I can actually go back to the woods and get more. So to get a 360 around this, it's essentially the long side has the sticks beside it, and the short side has the short sticks beside it. I'll probably need to move this plastic thing away from the fire. So wish me luck.